Well, glad you're here. We are here with our panel today, Jack Lord, the esteemed Jack Lord, Brent West and Rodney West, the sons of, glad to say this, Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer Ronnie West, as recently announced. And we're all here. I'm Mitch Lucas. I'm just representing Fan Guy on these shows, but we're here to talk about Continental Championship Wrestling, and we're doing so not quite a month in. Continental Wrestling, as you know or may not know, was the former Southeastern Wrestling. Ron Fuller and his partners transitioned to the name Continental in late spring, early summer 1985, started taping at Boutwell Auditorium. And the first few shows we've talked about the last few weeks, and now we are hitting the month of July 1985. See such names. If you look this up on YouTube, you'll see, if you're a longtime wrestling fan, you'll know these names. But Tommy Wildfire Rich, the Nightmares, Johnny Rich, Adrian Street, the Universal Heartthrob, Austin Idol, Jimmy Golden, the Armstrong family, of course, the Fuller family, and then maybe some names that are not quite as familiar to people who didn't watch Continental, but people that watch wrestling in the South will know these names. Roberto Soto is a good one. You might know the name The Assassin. Well, he wasn't the Assassin on Continental, but he was the Flame, and very good heel. What we're going to talk about, I guess, tonight, if we're going to talk about the start of July, you got to talk a little bit about what would be maybe, I don't know, the biggest, maybe the second biggest feud of the coming summer and fall, which would be Tommy and Johnny Rich against the
Fired up!
Yeah, there you go. Somebody said something about a lot of fun.
Even today, when somebody says that, sends me just, yes. It's like flashbacks.
But I have to say this. I didn't see a lot of this July because it's not available. Okay, you can't watch a lot of this July. But I watched the Tommy Rich versus Nightmare Number One, I believe. Was it Nightmare Number One?
It was Nightmare Number One. And the debate, I'm gonna shut up, but I gotta say this. If you remember last year when we were doing these, somebody wrote in, and I don't remember if it was Dr. Philbo Grice or who it was. Somebody wrote in and said, who was really Nightmare Number One? Was it Danny Davis or Kenny Wayne? Well, the answer is both of them were Nightmare Number One, and Jack's nodding, because every time they did these singles things, it seemed like they changed it up. On the July 6th broadcast of Continental's 1985, it's Ken Wayne in the ring with Tommy Rich.
I never noticed that. The things that you will not notice. But I'm going to tell you, Tommy Rich, talking about being on fire, Tommy Rich was on fire during this point in time.
He was. And
I'm telling you, he was over and he was wrestling great. When he went against that, they did the deal where they knocked one of the Nightmares out. The other one came in, and you thought, okay, Tommy Rich is going to get beat. Tommy Rich, but he does a small package on him, 1, 2, 3. The people go nuts. But, Jack, I have to ask you this. Tommy Rich had to be, I believe this time, Tommy Rich is the one that was drawing the houses in Continental.
Yeah, without a doubt. Tommy had such a draw back then. I don't think anybody, if you weren't a fan of these promotions, Georgia Championship Wrestling, Continental, back in the days when Tommy was so hot, you don't understand what a force he was. He I hate the things that happened to him along the way after all these years, but during this time period, there was no bigger star in this industry than Tommy Rich, period.
So, okay, Mitch, that's about that and a 2-ring triple chance battle royal. About all I got to see. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, before we go on, I will say this: if you watched Continental in 1985, and if you didn't, then hang on, because we're going to talk about it for several weeks here in a row. And Jack and Rodney and Brent, now it should be said, we should have said this from the beginning. These guys all lived this. Now, I'm a fan and I'm a writer. I'm a sports writer by trade, and I do have about every single minute of Continental from 86 to 89 taped, but I didn't live it. I was in the building. I did not have any kind of role in this. I don't want to take any credit, but I'm a little bit of a nerd, and I remember, of course, I've seen these things 150 times. I don't even know how my tapes and DVDs still work. I'll be honest, but because I just about broke them.
Now, we wasn't there at this time, though. We were in Louisiana at the time during this particular 1985. I don't think we get there till the end of 1985.
Well, and if you look at it, what Ron's goal, and he told you this back several months ago when you interviewed him, what his goal was to make, even though everybody liked the intimacy of the shows in Dothan, he wanted to make it a big arena show with a big feel. Remember, that's why he brought Gordon Soley in, and boy, he did it. And if you watch these shows from July, especially to go back to your point about Tommy Rich, man, nobody's sitting down. I mean, you got all them. I don't know. I think Boutwell, if I remember right, before they renovated it, which was '88. This was before they renovated it, so it held about 8,000 or 9,000 people at this point. There's at least half that on the floor. That place is packed, and they're standing. And I don't think Tommy Rich, if he'd have pulled out a gun and shot one of the Nightmares, would have got booed. There wasn't nothing that guy couldn't do anything to get booed.
But man, he was good.
Yeah,
and I mean, anybody watch these videos, man, he was good. He really was owned during this point in time. And for those people who say that Tommy Rich's career ended in 1983, they haven't seen it. Didn't watch 1985-86 Continental Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, he was really good. And I always thought, I got to know Tommy a little bit a few years ago, and he came through and called me and told me he was coming through Kilgore, had some family. We won't go into all that, but he had some family in Texas, and he was on his way down I-20 and asked if we wanted to get dinner. And me and my wife and kids met him and his wife, Miss Terry, and had a good time, sit down and talk to them for a while. And we talked about that. I didn't really ask him because I didn't want to offend Tommy, but everybody now that didn't live during that time, and Jack can identify with this, y'all can too because of who your daddy was, but everybody acts like if you didn't go to New York, and when we reference New York, young guys, we're talking about WWF, WWE. If you didn't go to New York, you weren't nothing. Well, Tommy Rich, to me, is the absolute symbol of you didn't have to go to New York to be a big deal in pro wrestling. Tommy Rich, you can throw Bob Armstrong in there and a handful of others. But Tommy, to me, and I don't want to turn this into Tommy was the greatest of all time, but he was certainly at this point, if you name Southern wrestling legends, Bob Armstrong, Jerry Lawler, you can throw, because of him wrestling in North Carolina, Wahoo McDaniel out there. You got to talk about Tommy Rich. I mean, you've got to. And people that have not seen this Continental stuff, I would encourage you, because this guy was the center of the booking in the tag team division. It was he and Johnny Rich put on a show with Danny Davis and Ken Wayne on into 86. I mean, it didn't end until on into 86. Plus, he had the deal. They put the belt on Tommy, the Continental title, and he had a run with Jody Hamilton, the Flame, later on in 85, which was super, super good. And had Dick Slater not left, we would have gotten to see more. I'm being spoiler alert here, but we would have gotten to see a little more of Tommy Rich and Dick Slater, which I would have really liked.
Yeah. You know, something else, they had a 2-ring triple chance battle royal, and I did get to see this. And it was Tommy Rich and Mr. Class, which was Ken Timms.
Who would have been 70 today, by the way.
Do what now?
Yeah, Ken Timms would have turned 70 today.
Oh, wow. Would he? Yeah. Oh, Ken Timms was so good. They went against the Nightmare and Bill Ash. Good booking in this because, you know, some bookers would have put the Nightmares both in there, but it was Bill Ash and one of the Nightmares. Can't remember which one. Rodney, you remember which one it was?
I do not.
I think it was Ken Wayne, but I'm not positive.
But they do it. And again, he small packages. Tommy Rich, he liked to do a small package and the roll ups. Tommy beat a lot of people that way.
Yeah. But
then they attacked Tommy Rich, and then out comes Johnny Rich, and that place went nuts when Johnny Rich came back. You know, it was just good booking, good television. And then the only other thing that was on there I noticed was Ron Fuller. Yeah, they did a Ron Fuller interview, which he was so good.
Yeah.
Ron Fuller was so good.
Ron Fuller was really good at making you hate him.
And they got it to where they hurt Jimmy Golden. And I didn't ever know this, but they put Bob Armstrong put a sleeper hold on him and wouldn't let it go. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that he did this?
Yeah.
But he did. He put the slipper hold on him, and he wouldn't let him go. And Ron Fuller said, that boy's been in the hospital for a whole week now. He's not recovered from that. It was just done so tremendously. But I mean, he got, that's the reason Bob Armstrong was over, because he didn't care about hurting you, and that's how they got him over.
Well, I want to ask Jack a question. We talked about Tommy Rich and Johnny Rich and the Nightmares, and I've heard Brent and Rodney both, I believe, reference Florence, Alabama, maybe Muscle Shoals, wherever. I guess it was the Lauderdale County Coliseum, which would have been one of those two places. Jack, what do you remember about the Tommy Rich, Johnny Rich Nightmares thing?
They were just great matches. We keep touting how great Tommy was and how good Johnny was, but the Nightmares were absolutely vital in all this. They were two of the best that I was ever in the ring with. Those guys could go in there with anybody and make them look good. I'm living proof of that, by the way. But yeah, those matches were just fire.
They were that. And Ken Wayne, I'm going to go back to something Rodney said at the beginning of the show, because every time I hear somebody say that, it makes me think of it. On over into their feud, you remember Ken Wayne is – Rodney's nodding. He knows what I'm talking about.
I'm with Ken Wayne on this.
And I don't think this was – I think this was straight up. I think Ken Wayne meant what he said. He got the microphone from Gordon Soley, and he said, if I hear somebody say something about one more time, I'm going to puke.
I'm right. I was with him. I was with Ken Wayne on that. Never was a truer statement.
Ken Wayne, what a great talker. Danny too, but man, Ken Wayne, it was just like you just gave him a microphone.
Danny too. Danny was great too. And
they just off the
couldn't really tell which one was talking sometimes, because they had the similar speech pattern. And they were awesome. And these matches were events. That's worth the price. Those matches were worth the price of admission alone. Yeah, not to say anything bad about anybody else's on the card, but these matches, 45 minutes in some cases.
Well,
one of the parts that we talked about was 45 minutes, and it was nonstop action from beginning to end.
Mitch, when they brought Adrian Street in, did they show videos of him before he came
Yes, in? On this episode, actually, they show a video of him. Most of them were the videos that we're all familiar with, the Imagine What I Could Do to You, the I'm in Love with Me with the bathtub, and the all those things. And they also showed a couple of the ones from when he was in Mid-South wrestling Terry Taylor, and he kissed his Terry Taylor to kind of, surprise him and get the pinfall. They showed a lot of that. I will say it was kind of fun hearing Jim Ross on Continental on some of those tapes, looking back now. You know what? My thing with, since you brought that up, my thing with Adrian Street, I don't know that I've ever seen a wrestler go from being so hated to so loved as Adrian Street did in Continental in 1986. And I know we're ways off from that, but I mean, and all three of you guys, you saw it. I mean, it was where they had to have extra security for Miss Linda to even be out at ringside. I mean, she was just it was a problem. It got to be a problem. People jumping the rail to attack Miss Linda. And of course, Adrian Street, was a great heel, but Miss Linda was a big part of his act. And my biggest regret from 85, and I know he had to move on, felt like he had been there long enough and needed to move back to Memphis or wherever he went. But I wanted to see more of Austin Idol, Adrian Street. I feel like we kind of got cheated on that one because Idol took off.
I believe that when he went against Adrian Street, Austin Idol, he decided he was going to go ahead and leave.
Well,
because I believe I have heard a story before. Now, this is my opinion, but I think Austin was telling Street what they were going to do during the match, and he said, No, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. And I think he went out there and had his way with the Austin Idol. So,
well, I know that after Continental, everything shut down and they started both working independents, that Austin refused to take a booking on the show that I was on because Adrian was coming in.
Wow.
He didn't even want to be around him.
Okay.
So
I
believe
had heard that, but there's the confirmation right there from the horse's mouth.
Adrian didn't care because he knew who he could whoop. And that was everybody in the dressing room.
Man, I'm telling you.
And Linda could have probably whipped him up for people.
Yeah,
You know,
she's had good
what
stuff.
I've noticed there in Continental, if you go back and watch the stuff that Adrian Street did in Memphis, Linda was a huge part and wrestled a lot in Memphis, but she didn't really wrestle a lot in Continental.
Not especially not until Rip Rogers and Brenda Britton came along. Once they came along, she had a few spots with Lady Maxine and Candy Divine, and that'll be coming up pretty quick. Here that we're gonna talk about. But then in '86 they pull the face turn and Adrian Street comes out and saves the mask of the Bullet. And I still thought I remember as a 16, 17-year-old kid watching the I did not go to the TV taping that week, and I saw it on Channel 4 out of Columbus, which is what I taped most of the time on, Channel 4, Channel 6. And I remember thinking, is this real? Are we going to wake up and this is going to be some kind of thing that really didn't? It was just odd to see.
Did you think that was going to be a Dallas episode?
Yeah, like he woke up and there was a dream shower sequence. But it was a lot of fun. Looking back, I'm glad they did that, because the easy version would have been to let Adrian stay working as a heel and keep on, fighting, Wendell Cooley and all the people that he fought. But the tough one was actually turning him and seeing how the crowd reacted. And whoever called that, I don't know if it was Robert. And when we say Robert, we mean Robert Fuller. I don't know if it was Robert or if it was your dad or Ron Fuller. Whoever booked that was genius. And
I would say Adrian Street come up with that.
Adrian Street did come up with that.
It worked. It worked. And who would have ever thought that he would have gone from, they say there's a fine line between love and hate. He went from being arguably maybe Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden might have been a little more hated because of them fighting the Armstrong boys. But Adrian went from being number 1, number 2 heel to maybe number 1, number 2 face behind the Bullet. Probably only behind the Bullet.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Well, we're going to talk more about Continental Championship Wrestling, but we're running out of time, and we want to thank you so much for being a part of it. If you're liking this video, give us the big thumbs up and subscribe to the page. Go one step further, hit that notification bell. Thank you so much. We see you. We'll see you on the next episode of Continental Championship Wrestling Discussion.